Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Two-Man Game, a very special episode because the regular season is over. Today was game 82. We're recording this Sunday, April 14th. You're probably seeing it Monday, April 15th. And today we're going to go ahead and talk a bit about some stuff with the season wrapping up. We're going to talk about some playoff series previews, take a look at that and then make our play-in predictions. Our official playoff predictions themselves will be coming later in the week. And then we're going to talk about some awards, both the official NBA awards and also some of the awards that y'all dropped in the comments during last episode. Y'all gave us a bunch. We told you we'd do all of them. We're going to do all of them. No prep for them at all, just on the fly. But before we get to any of that, as always, got to ask my co-host, Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm okay, man. I had 2 disc golf tournaments this weekend. I lost basically on a buzzer beater today. Haven't really felt that sad since the Kawhi Leonard shot, man.
Yeah.
Almost fell to my knees. It was pretty bad.
I was going to bring up the Kawhi shot when you said buzzer beater, but I thought it wouldn't be nice to go ahead and do that to you. But there you go. Someone brought it up.
But when the Kawhi Leonard shot happened, I remember I just took off my Sixers jersey, I folded it, and I just sat in the corner and just kind of like existed. So I didn't get that far. I didn't take my shirt off. I did bust open a Twisted Tea my buddy had in his cooler and just chug that because I need to take the edge off a little bit. But
there you go.
Other than that, man, I'm doing pretty good. I spent the whole weekend outside. It was gorgeous weather, so can't really complain. So ready to talk some hoops. Hate the Cavs and the Bucks for tanking today. So my Sixers couldn't get a guaranteed playoff spot, but alas, I like their matchup. So I'm ready to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, on my end, I'm doing fantastic. The Thunder finish as the 1 seed. Let's just go ahead and pull it up. Let's pull up the bracket. Here it is. This is the playoff bracket. Not all of it because the NBA playoff bracket is unfortunately weird, so I can't pull up the whole thing. You can see with my mouse here. But the Thunder end up as the number 1 overall seed in the Western Conference. The Celtics finish at 1 there. We knew that for a while. The Bulls, Hawks are the 9-10 matchup in the East. The Kings and Warriors are 9-10 in the West. 4-5 is Clippers, Mavericks. We've known that for a while in the West. In the East, it's Cavaliers versus Magic actually at 4-5. 3-6 is Timberwolves Suns, very interesting series, as well as Bucks Pacers. A lot of history between those two teams this season. The 2 matchup will be between the Nuggets and either the Pelicans or the Lakers, and the Knicks versus either Ryan Sixers or the Miami Heat. So that's what we've got right now. And like I kind of said at the beginning, it's an amazing bracket. I like it a lot. I think the matchups are super interesting. I think there's some potential for upsets. I guess just right off the bat, we can talk about it. Ryan, what's your favorite out of these matchups that are solidified here, the 4-5-3-6 matchups? What's the one that you're most interested in?
Mavericks, Clippers.
I think that's going to be the answer for basically everybody. I mean, we've known it's coming for a while. It's Luka versus potentially Kawhi. If he's playing, we don't know yet. Also, I feel like this light in the background is really bright. I'm going to turn that down. But Clippers, Mavericks, we've noticed we've been having for a while. They've played twice in the playoffs before. Luka loves to put up crazy numbers against them. Kawhi likes to do that against the Mavericks too. And they're both teams that I feel like a lot of people think could make a conference finals run if they get out of this series, but only one of them is going to make it out. It is very, very interesting. Like, the thing that I constantly think about with these two teams is, on one end, how do the Clippers slow down Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving? And then how do the Mavericks slow down Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, James Harden? Like, I think both sides have these big advantages with their star players. And then it might just come down to the role players, who's going to be more consistent. And I don't know on that end. Kawhi and Luka are both 2 of the best playoff players in NBA history, as well as just overall modern history too. It's going to be insane. Like, that's one I really can't wait for. Another one that I'm personally really interested in is Timberwolves versus Suns. This one happened today. We saw the Suns win in a blowout, and the Suns have beaten the Timberwolves all 3 times they played this season by double digits. So it's a matchup that they've kind of taken advantage of a little bit. They've been disappointing, but they pushed their way out of the play-in, and the Timberwolves have some concerns. Cat just came back from injury. How's it going to look in a full physical 7-game series? Anthony Edwards has risen to the occasion before, but their offense has been kind of a struggle all season. Can he do enough, and can Cat come back, lift them enough to score against the Suns consistently, whose defense isn't great, but it's been better? The Suns are a terrible fourth quarter team, so will they collapse in those moments? It's very interesting. I think I looked at the odds, and at the moment, I believe the Suns are actually favored to win the series, but it's basically 50-50.
Yeah, I think the reason why this series is interesting is because the Suns don't really... Not necessarily, the way the Suns work is they don't play to the Timberwolves' strength in a way that works out for the Suns. Like, when you have 7-foot KD, it doesn't really matter about rim protection as much because he's going to get his shot no matter what, because he has, he's so long and can get above really anybody. And just like Devin, same with Devin Booker, they can just make so much happen where it kind of takes out like the Rudy Gobert rim protection kind of stopping. And we've seen Rudy Gobert get really exploited in the playoffs before. So it'll be very interesting to see if, the Suns look back at some of that tape from past series. Like I think was it the Dallas series where they just completely took them out of the game when they played Utah?
Yeah, that was a series. I know everyone talks about the game against the Clippers where Terrence Mann went crazy, which was kind of just an anomaly. I don't blame Rudy Gobert for that. It is going to be interesting because also with Rudy Gobert, I mean, a lot of the times every time he's played in the playoffs in the past, it was with Utah where they never really had great perimeter defenders. Now they're a lot better in the perimeter.
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, the Suns are a mid-range heavy team. Like they shoot a ton of mid-range jumpers. Devin Booker does that. Kevin Durant. They're not a team that's going to try and get downhill Beal and destroy you at the rim, where, like you said, that's kind of their strength, is having Gobert operate there down low. You've got to work through the trees of him and Jaden McDaniels and Karl Anthony Towns. They could just operate on the perimeter, and that might make things a little bit more difficult. So that is really interesting. You're going to have Jaden McDaniels trying to slow down KD. He's been a great defender, but it is Kevin Durant. Who goes on Devin Booker? Is it Anthony Edwards? You stick him there, I would assume. But if he's on him, then he's going to be running around after him all game. Is he going to have enough energy offensively? Is, Mike Conley's defense good enough to stop Bradley Beal? It's going to be really interesting. It's kind of a matter of the team that's been better all year for the most part in the Timberwolves against a team with star power in the Suns, who feel like they have a bit of a counter there. So it's going to be a very interesting series. I know a lot of people are going to talk about Dallas versus LA, which, what we agreed is kind of our most anticipated one. But I think this one is also equally as interesting when it comes to the matchup between these two squads.
I feel like you might know this stat off the dome, but I'm curious if you do or not. What was the record of the Suns with all three of their big three healthy?
I don't know it off the dome. I have an idea. I want to say, I know, I don't know. I'll see if I can find it real quick. But it is, because there is also the fact that they played together a good bit here down the stretch. And I will say one thing that makes me feel better about the Suns is the fact that, they had one of the worst schedules in the NBA in terms of difficulty going into the final 10 games of the season. Everyone's like, oh, they're definitely going to be in the play-in. And they pushed their way up to the 6th seed. They kept themselves alive. And I feel like that has kind of built them up some momentum. They feel a lot better. And I do think this win over the Wolves, it gives them kind of a formula. Although on the other hand, it may also give the Wolves something that okay, this is what we have to fix going into a series. So it's interesting.
On the flip side, it was did the Wolves, not that they lost on purpose, but did the Wolves not want it, knowing that they were probably going to play Phoenix, did they not want to show their hand? And they didn't, not that they didn't go full throttle because it was still, an NBA.
They're still fighting for one of the top seeds. Yeah.
Yes, but it's not like they just laid dead, but it's almost I wonder if do we not show the Suns all of our look? I don't know. That's probably just way overthinking it, but it's just something interesting to think about.
I mean, it's the game within the game. I wouldn't be surprised, especially later in the game, they were kind of down big a lot of the night, and then they started to come back a little bit, but ultimately fell behind. And I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of were just okay, it's not going to work out. We're not going to show anything too crazy. But yeah, I mean, I wonder, is Anthony Edwards being that star going to be enough to go up against KD, Book, Bradley Beal? It's really interesting.
I think what'll be interesting, last thing I have to say about this game is just, will they have the offensive firepower to keep up? Because Ant's kind of more of a one-man wrecking crew. We've seen Towns put up crazy scoring numbers, but he's a week off of a torn meniscus. So
yeah, he's only played, I think this was his second game tonight.
Yeah. It's just to see if the defense of the Timberwolves or the offense of the Suns' big three. I just think whatever that's going to be between those two. That's kind of the battle.
And we've seen Cat struggle in the playoffs before too. This is going to be a big moment for him to kind of turn that narrative around. It was one of the reasons why people were concerned about them coming into this year. It's okay, you can make the playoffs, but how's Cat going to look in that scenario? Because he hasn't looked great. We'll have to wait and see. That's a really interesting one. We've also got Pacers Bucks, a lot of history there. They played in the in-season tournament. The Pacers won a majority of their meetings this season. I think it was 4-1, if I remember right. They also had the game where Giannis and the Bucks won. He put up a 60 piece, and then he won the game ball, and they were fighting after the game. I know Bucks Pacers fans have been talking about this series all year. Well, both sides got it, and it's going to be heated. And it's made a lot more interesting by the fact that we don't know what's going on with Giannis. I think if Giannis was healthy, I feel very confident in the Bucks winning this series, even though the Pacers have kind of had their number. I just don't think I'd bet against Giannis going up against a defense that I don't think can consistently stop him. But if Giannis isn't playing, I think this gets pretty interesting with the Pacers.
I think the Pacers wipe. I personally think the Pacers wipe the floor if Giannis doesn't play.
I don't know if I want to say wipe the floor.
I absolutely think they wipe the floor.
I will say I am worried because Dame hasn't been himself all year. We've seen drop-offs from Brook Lopez. Chris Middleton's been a little bit hit or miss. Bobby Portis has stepped up big in the games that Giannis hasn't played. But this Pacers team kind of has nothing to lose in this scenario. Obviously, they want to win, but there's a lot of pressure on the Bucks and specifically Dame. If Giannis isn't there, it's all on Dame's shoulders to elevate them and make them a lot more competitive. And even if Giannis comes back, we talked about this. I don't think it was last podcast episode, but I think you and I talked just over text. Last time we saw a significant calf injury, or one of the times I can remember, it was with Kevin Durant, going back when he was on the Warriors, and he came back, tried to play in the finals, and he tore his Achilles. I know those things are linked. I know you're a lot more like sports medicine kind of in tune, like that's literally your job. But I know those things can be kind of linked. And so, how quickly do they try to rush him back, knowing that this year is important? If they lose this series, if they exit in the first round against the Pacers, like this is an incredible failure of a season if they don't make it out of the first round.
Oh, I 100% agree, man. It's just, it's unfortunate. I mean, as a Sixers fan, I'm not saying I was rooting for the injury, but it is nice for once for another team to have to face some adversity that's not the Sixers. I feel like every single playoffs, Joel Embiid has some kind of crazy injury, and fingers crossed he looks really good right now, and he's been feeling okay, so hopefully that works out. But it is really unfortunate that the Bucks, like, the season has to come down to this. Like, do I like rooting for failure sometimes? There's a chance, especially with, Doc Rivers coaching the Bucks. Would it be kind of fun to see them kind of stink it up? Yeah, maybe just a little bit. But to have them go down because Giannis gets a really unfortunate injury and has the potential to get, like you said, a freak injury if they do rush him back, it kind of sucks to have their season end that way. But it's definitely going to make for some interesting hoops, whether he plays or whether he doesn't play. And I just think, kind of like what we were talking back with Phoenix, I feel like the Pacers just have a lot of different ways to attack the Bucks, and if Dame's not on, I just don't think there's enough offensive firepower to keep up with the team that's arguably the fastest paced offense in the entire NBA. So,
yeah, it's going to depend on Tyrese too. What kind of rhythm
can we get in-season tournament Tyrese back? If he plays like he did like middle of the season, bro, like I said, if he's putting up 25 and like 15 assists a game, I don't think the Bucks stand a chance if Giannis doesn't play. If he's putting up those kinds of numbers and getting people involved. But if Tyrese is playing like the mid he kind of has been playing for a lot of the second half of the season, and Dame remembers how to play basketball consistently, then I think, like you were saying, I think if that happens, then the Bucks can still destroy them even without Giannis. But it's just going to be a couple ifs, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, this one could swing either way, and it is incredibly interesting to think about what will happen to this Bucks team. Like, what decisions do they make if they lose in the first round? Hopefully Giannis is back and he's healthy and ready to go and play, because it does feel like the Bucks could still go on a run if he is.
Absolutely.
Like, what happens with Doc Rivers if you disappoint again after they gave him like a 4-year deal or 5-year deal or something like that? I can't believe they did that. Anyways, Bucks end up here at the 3 spot. And the final series that is set in stone for right now, like with that Bucks-Pacers series, that one I feel like is going to be ridiculous offense. If you want like the most disgusting 90s era basketball you've ever seen, where the final scores are going to be like 90 to 89 on a crazy night, you want to take a look at Cavs Magic. That's going to be a very, very physical defensive series. Like just watching the game today between the Bucks and the Magic, it was so hard. And obviously not having Giannis has a lot to do with this, but it was so hard for the Bucks to even score once against the Magic in the second half. The Cavaliers and Magic are both top 7 defenses. Cavaliers at 7, Magic at number 3 on the season. Jalen Suggs is amazing. To put him on Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland. Jonathan Isaac's a monster too. He's become unbelievable defensive. Well, he always has been, but now that he's gotten healthy, he's been ridiculous on that end.
2K when he went all depoys when you would do sim.
Exactly. He's reached that level, it feels like, this season. So they've got that insane defense. The Cavs have been up and down throughout the year. Donovan Mitchell's had crazy moments in the past, but last year wasn't his best series. This is going to be interesting, especially because all the pressure's on the Cavaliers with trying to show Donovan Mitchell that he should extend and stay here. And the Magic are just here for the hell of it. Like, if they lose this year, if they got swept, not a big deal, because no one expected them to be this high up in the first place. It is very, very interesting. There was one other point I wanted to make that I forgot about. I just
make my point if you want what you think about it.
Yeah, there's something we were talking about before we recorded that I meant to make a point on here, and I can't remember. You go ahead. You go for it.
Yeah, well, something that I think that's interesting about this series and then the potential future series is just that the on paper, the Cavs are so much better than this Magic team. And I think we talked about this a little bit before on a previous episode, but the Cavs just have been so banged up all season that you feel like you haven't gotten their full team at full strength like the entire year. I'm pretty sure I know they sat some guys today, but I'm pretty sure, as far as I know, that going into the series, they should have like all the mainstays, right? Yeah, I don't know if they're at 100%, but they should be active.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody on the Cavs that isn't going to be active for this series out of their or with their
So
typical rotation.
it'll just be interesting to see if, like, because the Magic have really not dealt with a lot of injuries all year, which is kind of a testament to why they finish at the 5th seed when you have some of these other teams that might be better on paper right around the same record as them. But it will just be interesting to see if, like, the banged up part of the Cavs, because like you were saying, the Magic play really defensive and really physical. It'll be interesting to see if that aspect of their team kind of just gets to the Cavs, even though they're way more talented, arguably, that they just can't keep up because they've just been so weathered down by the season. So we'll see. I think Donovan Mitchell's a playoff riser, so I think he's going to inevitably come through and own the Magic no matter who you put on him. I think that's going to be what's going to happen in that series, but it'll be very interesting. And I do think that if the Cavs are healthy and kind of get into a groove, I think it's more interesting of a second round series against Boston than people will give it credit for, just because of the makeup of the Cavs. So that will be fun to watch. And I do think the Cavs kind of take the series pretty handedly, but it'll be interesting to see if they get locked up a little bit by the Magic that have kind of been just doing that to people. Like you were saying, 90s hoops, like every other night.
It's going to be hideous
90s
game.
by the points and the decade.
Exactly. Yeah. The 90s decade, the 90 points might be the most anybody scores in this series. It's really interesting. If you want defense this series, if you want offense, check out Bucks versus Pacers. This playoffs is going to have everything. The point I wanted to make that I remembered is that the Cavs pretty obviously, it seemed like, tanked at the end of the game against the Hornets today. Like over the last 10 minutes, I think they had like 4 or 5 turnovers. They got blocked at the rim a couple of times, like taking bad shots. They just completely collapsed down the end. The Hornets ended up walking out the season with a win, which Hornets fans are mad about because I think that put them in a tie for the 3rd best odds when they could have had like the 2nd best or something like that. Like they could have passed a different team if they had just lost again. So we'll see if that changes how the lottery goes for them. But ultimately, the Cavs wanted this matchup. This is what they tanked for. They saw that the Magic were going to win because at that point they were up by $1 billion on the Bucks. The Knicks, that was still undecided. But basically, if the Cavs lost, they were going to be locked into the 4 seed. So they figured, why not go ahead and try and play the Magic rather than facing, if they won and the Knicks lost, I think they could have moved up to 2, I believe. And they could have theoretically had to face the 76ers or the Miami Heat. They decided to play the Magic instead. So that's also a bit of a chip on their shoulder where it's like, hey, they wanted this matchup. Are you just going to take that and lie down, or are you going to go out there and show them why they made a mistake? So I think that adds an element to it too. Should be a lot of fun. But yeah, those are our 4 locked-in matchups at the moment. Thunder and Celtics grab the 1 seeds. Nuggets, Knicks end up at the 2 seeds. And then we have the play-in tournament. So let's go ahead and talk about that now. This is what we're going to actually predict. We'll predict those series officially and make like our whole predicted playoff bracket later in the week. So if you want to see that, keep an eye out. We're going to take some time to evaluate it, see how the play-in goes, see when we get news about like Kawhi and Giannis and stuff like that before we make those official predictions. But yeah, so going into the play-in tournament, do you want to start in the East or the West?
We'll go East because I think you and I both agree with that 7-8 matchup. We both think Philly is going to hopefully wipe the floor with the Miami Heat, just more talent.
I don't know if I'd say wipe the floor. Just
no, they're wiping the floor, bro. I'm just kidding. Okay. No, it wouldn't be. It's not Sixers basketball if it doesn't make it interesting. We could be beating them by 20 the entire game, and then it'll be a 5-point game with like 2 minutes left. So even though we both agree that Philly will likely win the game, it'll probably be interesting. And Jimmy Butler always turns up. It's his former team. So it'll be a very fun matchup, and I'm pretty excited to watch that game. And I do think whoever wins that series or whoever wins the game will make for a fun series against the Knicks. And no offense to Miami, but I know the Knicks are praying that Miami wins that game.
Yeah, the Sixers are scary. I mean, we talked about this before. I've tweeted out, I've bought a lot of stock in the Sixers team. I think if they went up against the Knicks, they could win that series. I would have to think about it a little bit, see how Embiid looks in that playing game because he did tweak his knee again the other day. I mean, he still played and looked great after that, but we need to see how he's looking first of all before we actually talk about that series in depth. But I do think the Sixers have a shot to win that series. I do think the Sixers win this game. I think it's going to be close. Miami plays every game close. Jimmy Butler, we know what he does when it comes to the playoffs and these big-time moments. They're going to need a lot out of Bam to slow down Embiid. But ultimately, I do think Philly is just the better team at this moment. They're on fire. What are they on, an 8-game win streak right now?
Yeah.
They're on an 8-game win streak. They built up all this momentum. When Embiid has played, they've been way better than this Heat team, and I think they are better than this Heat team. So I'm going to give it to Philly as well. I think Philly goes on to face the Knicks, which will be really fun.
I just want to point out one thing. The last time the Sixers and Miami played a really like do or die game, I don't even remember what game it was, but the last time they played like a do or die game against each other, or like just a big game, all I can remember is that what they went after Hero huge on defense. I remember Maxey got like 10 straight touches against Hero and just completely torched him. So that's something that I think we should watch out for.
Yeah, one thing that makes me more confident in them too here is that Nick Nurse is a great coach. Eric Spoelstra, I think, is the best coach in the league.
We also got Kyle Lowry. We have the op.
You do have Kyle Lowry. That adds. I completely forgot about that aspect of things. That adds a little bit more.
It adds a little bit to it. I think he's gonna be fired up to play in that game. I think he wants to kick.
Oh, for sure. Oh, absolutely. I'm. If you're looking for sports betting advice, don't take it from me. But Kyle Lowry might go off in that game. That could be a moment for him.
Kyle Lowry threes. You just watch it.
I'm excited for it. I think the Sixers team is really good. And this isn't just because I like the team and, you're my brother. I bought a lot of stock in this team. I think they still do have a real possible route to make the conference finals. I think
100%.
Avoiding, it would have been cool for them to get like a 5 seed and push up the standings. But I think avoiding Boston on this side of the bracket could be huge for them if they want to make that run. So, but that's not to say that the Knicks, we're talking about the Sixers could win that series. This Knicks team, I think, also could make a conference finals run. Like any team,
even without Randall,
like almost every single team, it feels like can make a run of some kind as long as they don't run into Boston. The Knicks are incredible. Like you said, even without Randall, Brunson continues to, like all season, especially as of late, made a case to be on All-NBA first team. OG's a lockdown defender. They play great team ball. Dante feels like he could have a 30-point game in the playoffs at some point. They're really good. Like if they had Randall, I might pick them straight up to make the conference finals. Without him, I think it's going to be a little bit harder, but it's still a team that I don't think the Randall injury stops them in their tracks or anything. It doesn't make them dead in the water. I think they'll be perfectly fine. It just might have raised their ceiling a little bit to have a Randall theoretically.
I think the Randall injury, what it does is it gets rid of their offensive firepower because Brunson's going to put up a monster game, but if Brunson's off, who are you going to lead? Because Dante DiVincenzo has kind of emerged as that second option for them, and he's been really, really, really good. But if Brunson has an off night scoring, or the Sixers or the Heat or whoever they play in that first round just start double teaming Brunson, he's forced to make other people contribute. It's like, do you think that a combination of like Anunoby and Mitchell Robinson and Josh Hart and like these guys that aren't as like scoring options, they get a ton of minutes for them, are they going to beat you?
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what I mean? It's like if Brunson's not putting up 30 or 40 a game, I think that they're kind of cooked. I think he's going to have to hoop. So.
He's going to have to go crazy to help them make this deep run. And he has been. But, again, like you said, the playoff series with the adjustments and stuff, it'll make it more difficult. Mm-hmm. So we unanimously have the Sixers moving on in this game. Over in the Western, which would make Miami.
Well, real quick, before you go on to that, I don't know who you're going to pick in that 9-10 game, but whoever you pick, I think. However, I will say, I'm assuming you're going to pick the Bulls, right? I
am going to pick the Bulls, yeah.
I think there's a world where the Bulls beat the Heat.
Wouldn't that just be? I want to say real quick, this is nothing against the Bulls or the Hawks. If one of those teams win, I'm gonna be kind of salty because I do want to see both Philly and Miami in the playoffs. And I gotta say, a matchup of the Heat and the Celtics. While I am definitely taking the Celtics, the idea
of way more interesting than a Bulls Celtics series.
It is a lot more interesting. But yeah, I was gonna pick the Bulls. Are you gonna pick them too in this game?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the Hawks have Trae Young back. I think they definitely could win. But with the Bulls, it just. I don't know. It feels like to me that they'll I feel like they're a bit more of a complete team at this moment. The Hawks have dealt with a bunch of injuries. Not that the Bulls haven't.
Yeah, there no Levine or Lonzo, but
but I don't know. Something about the Bulls have just been the better team for a majority of this second half of the season. I think I am going to take them, and I do think the Heat will beat the Bulls.
I want to say one thing though.
Okay.
I think DeMar DeRozan is a big game player, man, and he has hit some crazy shots. And Kobe White's been kind of hooping. I could see a world where they keep it close and then DeMar does something crazy. I'm putting that out there now. So when it happens, I look like a genius. And
DeMar is one of the front runners for Clutch Player of the Year. He's up there.
I do think Miami wins, but there is a world where the Bulls are facing the Celtics round one, I think.
I think so too. I will say that the Heat are going to win in my eyes. I think whoever loses this game ends up just playing the Celtics. But it definitely makes things interesting. I mean, that's the fun of the play-in is that it is that win or go home thing. Where you could be a much better team, but if you have one off game and you fall apart, then all of a sudden you're not in the playoffs. That's why it's so important to make it out of it. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think we're both picking Bulls to beat the Hawks, Sixers to beat the Heat, and then Heat to beat the Bulls.
Yeah, but I'm giving myself a half point. I'm just saying if the Bulls win because I do think, but I will also only give myself a half point if the Heat beat the Bulls. That'll be my.
All right, so Ryan has split the odds. Either I'm going to win because I picked it perfectly, or Ryan is. Oh, which by the way, something we should do, we need to do at some point soon is we made that like predicting playoff teams or drafting playoff teams kind of thing. So we'll have to keep up with that throughout our playoff coverage.
Yeah, we'll after each round we'll have to update the point system, because I think it was like we're doing like we'll have to go back, but it was like 1 point per win, 1 point per series win, or like stuff. We had stuff like that. We'll have to go back and see what we decide on for a scoring system, and we'll keep the standings posted each episode.
Yeah, so we'll keep you all updated on that. Okay, move over to the Western Conference. Pelicans, Lakers. Pelicans are going to be at home. These two teams did play today, and the Lakers kind of blew them out. Pelicans really didn't show up to the moment. Brandon Ingram looked okay, not great in his first game back from injury, a little bit limited with the minutes. Just wasn't, it was his first game back from being out for a few weeks with a knee injury. So that's something to keep in mind a little bit for this series. The Lakers definitely have the experience advantage. This is going to be a really good game. I've seen some Lakers fans say that they should consider tanking this game so that they could play OKC potentially in the first round. But I think that's insane to even think about trying to tank to a lose, go home type scenario, where even if you lost this game, the two teams you have to play are the Kings and the Warriors, who are not going to roll over at all in that game either. So I don't think the Lakers are going to do that. I don't think they're dumb enough to do that. So yeah, who do you have winning this game, Pelicans or Lakers?
I think the Lakers win this game. I think just because BI is kind of nursing back to health, and LeBron and AD in a do or die game. I think that's kind of where I'm going with that. But I do agree with you that the Lakers should not lose this game on purpose, obviously, because like you said, it's not a pushover. But I do think if I'm the Lakers, I would so much rather play the Thunder. No offense, I'd so much rather play the Thunder than the Mavericks, just because of matchups.
I mean, the Nuggets are the defending champs. Like, I'm sure they would prefer to play the Thunder over the team that swept them last year and has kind of always had their number. It's unfortunate for them. That's kind of the way the bracket ended up, because the Nuggets were seemingly going to be the 1 seed for like all of this past week. And then they fell apart in that game against the Spurs, let the Thunder go ahead and grab it. It's unfortunate, but I think if you're the Lakers, you have to go into it. I think the Lakers can make it interesting. Like, I don't think it would be a sweep again. I would say maybe Nuggets in like 5 or 6. Maybe 6. I haven't thought about it enough quite yet to really make that decision, but I think I would lean that way. And I do think the Lakers end up winning this game, even though the Pelicans have been a better team most of the season with the Ingram injury. And the fact that the Lakers just from remembering games, I know the Lakers destroyed them in the play-in tournament, or not play-in tournament, in-season tournament. They destroyed them tonight. They've kind of had their number, and I do trust LeBron and AD in that do-or-die game to go and get the win against the Pelicans. So, yeah, I'm also going to pick the Lakers here, which would mean the Pelicans would play the winner of the Kings and the Warriors. This one is very interesting. They played in the first round series last year. It was a 7-game series, and at that point, it was the Kings as the 3 seed and the Warriors as the 6. Now they're the 9 and 10, and one of them won't even make the playoffs, or won't even get the chance to play in a second play-in game. So it's been a bit of a fall from grace for these two teams. Kings have the home court advantage. They are going to be without Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter in this game. The Warriors should be fully healthy. They sat a couple guys today to maintain health. Who do you have winning this game?
I have the Warriors. I think the scoring options off the bench for the Kings I think that's not really talked about as much of being a detriment to their team. I do think having Monk off the bench and having Huerter shooting out of the lineup are really, really tough for them, because they don't really have a lot of other options on the roster to replace that. And I just think when you're in a do or die game and you have, like, I can't even comprehend how many combined rings you have on that roster for the Warriors. There's just so much. I was trying to do the quick math in my head. I'm like, I don't even know, because you have Steve Kerr's Bulls rings. It's just, there's so many rings on the roster from coaching and players that if I'm taking Steph, I know Clay's been kind of washed. I know Draymond can't stay on the court because of his attitude or his hands to himself, but I'm taking that roster over the Kings all the time. Sabonis has been known to go kind of doo-doo in big games, and Fox has just been kind of like all over the place, it seems like, this season. And I think the Warriors got one more, not that they necessarily have a run in them, but I do think that they have a little bit of juice in the tank to pull this one out. And I think Warriors, and it's kind of funny because then at this point, I'm almost rooting for the Lakers to lose, because of Steph, LeBron to get into the playoffs game, like which we've seen before with this new format, would just be really entertaining. Not that I don't think Warriors and Pelicans, I think, would also be pretty good, but I think Warriors take it, and then I think that the Pelicans beat the Kings.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Don't listen to me. Warriors beat the Pelicans.
You think the Warriors win?
I do.
I'm going to go I think the Kings win this game. I think they're going to go out there and win it with the home court advantage. The Warriors have just been so hit or miss all season. I don't know if I can count on them to be as consistent. The Kings have had their moments too.
It's one game. You don't got to be consistent.
I know, but it's I guess so, but at the same time, it's just one of those moments where I think
I'm picking who has the best ceiling, man. The Warriors have way better of a ceiling, and if they're playing on top, I think they could smoke the Kings. I really do. They don't have. There's nobody in that team that could stop the Warriors if they're clicking. So
that's true, but at the same time, to me, what I've been seeing over the past year or so, I think we're seeing the end of the Warriors, and I think this is a moment where it really all comes crumbling down. They could definitely win this game. I could see them making the playoffs entirely, but I'm going to say that this is the moment where things really fall apart, and they have to make the tough decisions. I think the Kings kind of just muster it all up, winning this single game, like, you know, in a series, maybe it would be different, but in this moment, I think the Kings are going to go ahead and they're going to grab the win. Steph is the best player in the series, but I think Fox and Sabonis are the next two. The Warriors, I don't think, have the same personnel that can make life difficult for the Kings the way that it did last year. They don't have that same kind of oomph to them. So I'm going to take the Kings to win this, but I do think the Pelicans losing, I think they'll end up beating the Kings. I think it's going to be the Pelicans and as the 8 seed. There has never been actually.
I think the Warriors make the 8 seed. That's my pick.
Actually, interestingly enough, so that would be making history because no 10 seed has ever made it into the playoffs through the play-in. So, and this, I guess, would be the year with how close everything is in the West. The Warriors are, of course, a bit of a different animal. But yeah, I think I'm going to take Lakers end up as the 7, Pelicans end up as the 8. You're taking the Lakers end up as the 7, and the Warriors end up as the 8, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So those are our predictions for the play-in tournament. And I mean, like, that'll be really interesting. Whoever the Thunder end up playing, if it is the Warriors, you know, it would be like the end of an era versus the beginning of an era. With
I think that'd be a fun series, man.
Yeah, we played some great games against them this year. Thunder lost one game out of the 4, and it was the game at the beginning of the season in the in-season tournament where there was no Shea, and Steph had that shot that they called goaltending, but then it wasn't goaltending, but it was like a whole saga with that. And then the Thunder played 2 overtime games against them that they won, and then had 1 blowout win. So it's been a really fun series, you know, again, beginning, end of an era type thing. With Sacramento, it's, you know, De'Aaron Fox going up against Shea, 2 of the best guards in the league. Can Chet slow down Domantas Sabonis? And then with the Pelicans, it's a young duo of Brandon Ingram and Zion. The Lakers series, it's, again, another, like, end of an era, like 2 older stars going up against the young team. There's a lot of fun scenarios that the Thunder could go into. I'm very excited as a Thunder fan. If I had to pick, like, the order in which I'd want to play these teams, I think the Kings are the most favorable matchup for the Thunder, especially when you consider the injuries they're dealing with. Then I think I'd go Golden State, then the Pelicans, then the Lakers in order of like who I would want most to see versus who I want least to see. I think the Thunder would still beat the Lakers, but going up against LeBron is never ideal in any scenario. So
for sure.
But okay, that is our quick playoff preview, play-in predictions type thing. We'll make a full like playoff predictions
like
when
we'll do
stuff is more set in stone. Yeah, we'll do the whole bracket. Maybe that'll be Friday is when the bracket ends up. Maybe it'll be like Friday night or something like that. So we'll keep you posted on that front. But for the moment, let's go ahead and pivot over to awards. We can go ahead and move over to that. Let me put us back in our usual setup here. So we're going to do the major awards first. We're going to talk about those, and then we'll go into some of the awards that y'all went ahead and commented down below. Should we start with the big one with MVP, or should we kind of save that for last? I feel like it's...
I think we get out of the way. I don't think there's really a lot to talk about with it. I think we each have our pick, and it's just like, it is what it is. So do you want to start with yours?
Yeah, so it's been tough the whole year. I've been very back and forth on who I'm picking. I picked Nikola Jokic the other day when I made my awards video. Recent events with the Nuggets slipping to the 3 seed has made me somewhat reconsider it, but I do think I am eventually going to stick with Nikola Jokic. He has been unbelievable this season, doing ridiculous stuff. Statistically, advanced stats, as always, love him. They love all the candidates, whether it's, I think we agree that it's going to be Jokic, Luka, and Shea in some order for the top 3. But I think with the advanced stats that he has, the plus minus loves him. The team, we talk about the Mavericks being injured, and they have been more injured, but the Nuggets have also dealt with some. Jamal Murray ended up playing less games, or I think about equal the amount of games that Kyrie did this season. So they were pretty close in terms of their co-stars. And I feel like when I've been watching the Nuggets throughout the season, really just the NBA as a whole, watching a billion games because I cover it for a living, I continuously feel like Jokic has been the most impactful player in the world at the moment. So I'm going to go with Nikola Jokic. It's very, very close. If you go Luka, I don't blame you whatsoever. There's a part of me that wanted to go biased here, go way off the rails and pick Shea because we did end up as the 1 seed. But I think that injured stretch he had towards the end of the season where he wasn't putting up his usual numbers, he dropped to, just above 30 points per game. The steals title ended up going to De'Aaron Fox and not him. I think that stretch and then missing some time ended up kind of killing his MVP case. If he had been putting up the typical numbers and we did get the 1 seed, I think he might end up winning it. But it's just, it feels like it eventually pushed its way out of his reach. Unfortunately, I'll settle for a playoff run if we can make that instead. But I'm going to go with Jokic 1, Luka 2, and Shea 3 for my MVPs. And I know where Ryan's going already.
So as a guy who doesn't watch basketball for a living, I'm picking Luka Doncic as my MVP simply because I know the nerd stats love Jokic. And
they love Luka too, though.
They do love Luka. And I think the argument saying that the Nuggets were better, so Jokic should get the award, is absolute bull crap, considering that I know the seeding is how it worked out, but it's like a 2-game difference between the two, like the Nuggets and the Mavericks went on such a run at the end that the gap, I don't know what the gap was exactly, but it was just a couple games, right?
The gap between them was
like what? I think it was 3 games. It might be. I don't know. That's what it was a couple days ago.
I think it was 5 or 6. It was
really? I thought it was
ended up being 7 games between the Mavericks and the Nuggets. The Mavericks. Whatever. Well, it's also because the Mavericks lost today. Like they didn't play anybody. The Nuggets won. So
yeah, it was
they still did win 50 games. They went 50 and 32. They were great.
Because I think people are kind of putting it like as if like the Celtics were the one. Like let's say the Celtics were the 1 seed, right? And you're picking a player off of like I don't know. The Heat or the Sixers when there was like a 15-20 game, you know what I mean? Like that's what I feel like people are kind of making the gap between the Mavericks and the Nuggets kind of like that. So I do think that in this scenario that doesn't really play into it. I just think when you're averaging above a 30-point near triple double and you're just like every night you're like, how in the world is he backpacking this team like this? It's just like he should have won. If the Mavericks had better wins, I think he would have had an MVP by now just based on the stats he puts up. I just think he had such a great season and that he really carried a team that was all over the place. Like think he freaking brought Dante Exum from the grave and made him a good role player in the end. Like come on, man. That alone should make him MVP.
Don't you dare hate on Dante Exum.
I'm not hating Joe Hoop this year. I'm not hating at all.
But Dante Exum here in this podcast.
I just think the way that Luka makes his team better and the way he just carries everybody and how the Mavericks roster is, it feels like every single year like the Mavericks have just had different rosters year in and year out, whereas Jokic is playing with the same 6 dudes. It seems like, like it just seems like with that narrative and just Luka's insane stat line that he put up this year, I just think he's finally due for one, and that I hope he wins. I think Jokic is going to win, but this is my pick, so I'm picking Luka.
I feel like
he's my favorite player. That's not Joel Embiid, so it'd be nice to see him win.
And I mean, it was when I made my award video, and almost all the comments were people that were mad I didn't pick Luka to win. If you want to talk about like who the people's MVP is, it seems like it's Luka. Like the fans want him to win; they're pushing for him to win. I think it could go to him. It could go to Jokic, maybe even Shea if it went really crazy. Although I think he's kind of out of it. I think Jokic is going to win. But if you pick Luka, I'm not mad about it. Like I'm picking Jokic. I think he's a perfectly fine pick. I think Luka is. People got way too toxic. I feel like
I need to ask you a question. Are you picking Jokic because you think he should win, or you think he will win?
Because I think he should win.
Okay, put that out there.
Yeah, I think he does win. I think
Jokic wins, but I think Luka should win. So that's my
That's my. And then I'm guessing you have Jokic 2, Shea 3 in some order.
Yeah, and then I do think though that people were underestimating Giannis in this scenario. Giannis put up some nuts numbers. Like I saw a couple stats. Like he arguably put up better stats than when he did win MVP. I know the Bucks were a little bit better that year.
First season to average over 30. I think he finished averaging 30. But first season to average over 30 with 60 plus field goal percentage, I believe, in NBA history. So
I do think that Giannis. I know he did get hurt for the last couple games, and the Bucks kind of pooped the bed a little bit towards the end.
Yeah,
but I do think Giannis didn't get enough love in the MVP race. So I'm just gonna give him his flowers, and I do think. Just putting it out there, Joel Embiid would be winning his 2nd consecutive MVP if he did not get hurt. So
I will agree with that. Joel Embiid would have won this award. The only reason we're able to have this amazing discussion is because Embiid ended up getting injured. I think
Embiid was wiping the floor before he got hurt, man.
We agree he would have won it, unless the Sixers, fell apart in terms of the standings. But they stayed afloat enough to have a chance at like the 5 seed in the last couple of days. I think they would have ended up as a top 3, 4 seed, maybe even end up as the 2.
I think we would have won. I think we would have got 2 or 3 if he stayed healthy. Just by the way, the Bucks kind of stunk at the end, and the Knicks got unfortunate injuries.
Yeah, so
I think we would have finished 2 or 3.
But hey, still plenty of time for the revenge tour. Okay, so that is the MVP award. Next up, I guess the Super Rookie of the Year. It's Victor Wembanyama. I think we agree on that. Would love to see Chet win. Unfortunately, Vic had one of the greatest regular seasons or greatest rookie seasons, that is, of all time. I'm going to pull up the stats. 21.4 points per game, 10.6 rebounds, 3.9 assists, 1.2 steals, 3.6 blocks, had a 5x5, nearly quadruple doubles, and he did all of that playing less than 30 minutes per game. So he didn't even play over 30 minutes per game, and he still put up some of the most insane numbers I've ever seen. I think by next year, he's going to be in top 10 talks. It's crazy how good he was this season.
I have two things I want to say about Wemby. One, I think it's awesome that he stayed healthy all year. How many games did he play?
71 games, and Chet played 82. He played all 82 games. So the two of them, guys that were like, they're like, there's these skinny bigs, like they can't really play. And I don't think Vic dealt with a real injury all year. At least
they said a couple, like he was not playing back to backs, I think, in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, he had some rest games here and there. So I think outside of games where they purposely rested him, I believe he played all or would have played all 82 games, or maybe sat out today because it was worthless. Not that a lot of their games kind of became worthless towards the end of the season, but yeah, I think Wemby's in position to be a top 10 player by next season potentially.
And then the other thing I want to say about Wemby is I follow this account on Twitter, and I don't remember the name, so I might be random. It is either Extra Stat Muse or Random Stat Muse, something like that.
I know which one you're talking about. I think it is Extra.
They have a Wemby Gamma tracker, which if you don't know what a scoregami is, it's when in the NFL 2 teams play a game and then they get a unique score that's never been done before. The Wemby Gamma is when Wemby does a stat line that's never been done before by another player. And I swear it was like once every week or two he was getting one. So the fact that this man is a rookie putting up stat lines that have never been, and it's not like because he's doing weird stuff. It's because he's getting like a 30-point double-double while also getting like 5 blocks and 6 steals and like a couple, you know what I mean? Like he's putting up crazy stat lines. Like he's not putting up like 1 point, 11 rebounds, 17. Like he's not putting up really stupid looking stuff, right? He's like having these monster games that literally nobody has done before. So I agree with you. I think Wemby will be an all-star next year, and I think he makes All-NBA next year. That's what I'm going to say.
I've seen some people put Wemby in All-NBA this year. I'm not putting him on there because the Spurs are really bad, but I've seen some people put him on there. And I've seen a lot of people pick him to win Depoy. And I don't have him winning Depoy necessarily. Maybe you do, but I think he probably finishes top 3. He's going to be all defensive first team. He's a game breaker already, and his career literally just started. So shout out to him. Second place, it's going to be Chet Holmgren. Third place, it could be a number of guys, probably Brandon Miller, I would guess.
Yeah, I think it'll be Brandon Miller. Jaime Jaquez, I think, was pushing for a bit, but he kind of, when he got hurt and he came back, he didn't really look the same.
Yeah, so I think it ends up being those 3 guys. Shout out to my guy, Chet. Again, played all 82 games, was our rim protector all year, started all 82 as our center, shot well from 3. He was overall efficient. Chet was fantastic. He would have won Rookie of the Year in so many other years. Last year, if he was in last year's race, I think he blows it out of the water. I think he easily beats. Ryan's fighting bugs.
If I'm just saying, for anyone watching on YouTube real quick, or if you're listening on Spotify, if you hear a clapping noise, there's a mosquito flying around my head. I'm not trying to get bitten to death. So I apologize in advance if I interrupt Connor with a clap or a slap. So
quick jump scare warning for audio listeners. You'll maybe see the visual on the YouTube end. But Chet was fantastic. I think in most years, like last year, he beats Paolo for Rookie of the Year. I think most seasons, Chet wins. He had legitimately one of the better rookie seasons of all time. It's just he happened to go up against Wemby in this year. So I want to be biased here, but ultimately I will not. Okay, so that's our defensive or Rookie of the Year, excuse me. Let's do Coach of the Year next, because this is one I think we'll also agree on when we get out of the way. I think it's Mark Daigneault of the Thunder.
I think it's Mark Daigneault as well.
Yeah, I don't see it going many other ways. If the Magic finishes like the 2 seed, maybe you could have pushed for Jamal Mosley a little bit.
I think he gets second. And I think Joe was up there too, just because Boston was so damn good.
That's the order I think it goes into. I could see Michael Malone getting some love, Chris Finch with the Timberwolves too. But I think ultimately it does go to, maybe even Ime Udoka gets some love for the way the Rockets started to finish the season, but they kind of tailed off towards the end, so maybe not. I think it's pretty easily Mark Daigneault, the youngest team ever to get the 1 seed, the youngest team to ever win 55-plus games, top 5 offense, top 5 defense. He's done some special stuff. It's pretty clear Mark, if you ask me. He finished top 3 last year. He should win this season. Okay, so that's our Coach of the Year, Rookie of the Year, and MVP out of the way. Let's do Most Improved Player. I think I know who you probably have. Who's your MIP pick?
I'm probably going to do Tyrese Maxey, which I've seen he's the Vegas odds favorite, though. But I do want to shout out Kobe White, who you put in F tier in the point guard rankings. And I was dying on the hill that he was not an F tier guard.
Ryan was in the moment. I don't think that was the worst take in the world. Ryan wins this battle. Although one thing we need to go back on, you were pushing for the Trailblazers in our preseason standings prediction. That they did not. We should actually go back. I'm actually going to find that real quick and find how we rank teams. I'm going to look up that podcast episode while you keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, I think Kobe White definitely deserves some love. But my issue with Kobe White is that he he had good stats before. They like reduced his role, and then they gave him the role back, and he like performed. I know his splits were way better than they have been in the past, and he was definitely, this is the best basketball he's ever played. But I think Maxey jumping from like that borderline all-star to arguably all NBA this year, I just think that he should get it. And he really anchored this team with Joel Embiid, missing so many games. So the way he's just taken over some games for Philly, like when he had 50 the other night, I was like hooting and hollering watching that, man. It was pure hoops.
Yeah. I'm also going to go Tyrese Maxey. Kobe kind of tailed off at the end of the season. He didn't finish the season great. Still had some great games, but I think Maxey kind of kept it steadier all throughout the year. And the way he was able to step up and keep the Sixers alive despite the Embiid injury, I think deserves a lot of credit. I'm going Tyrese Maxey. Like you said, I know some people aren't going to love it because people get mad when it's like a good player becomes a great player, but I think that's a really hard jump to make.
It's like when Pascal won. I feel like this is very similar when Pascal won.
Yeah, and it's not like John Morant, who went from a number 2 overall pick to an all-star, all-NBA level player and won it. Maxey was like the 21st overall pick, I think. And yeah, he was already good last year. But like you said, I mean, he was in conversations to start the all-star game. He could be theoretically pushed as an all-NBA guy. I don't have him on that team, but he could be in the conversation if he wanted to. Maxey's been fantastic. I think he should win the award. I also have Kobe White finishing second. Third place, it's a little tough. Jalen Johnson didn't play enough games. I think he would have been towards the top of this conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Jalen Williams should get some love. He's a second-year player, and they never get love in these conversations for MIP. I think that's dumb. What he did this season was so huge for us, so I'm going to show him love in that regard. But yeah, I feel like those are some of the top candidates. Obviously, there's other guys out there too. Jonathan Kuminga for the Warriors has been great all season too, but he didn't keep up like that 20-point per game stretch that he was on. His role has fluctuated throughout the year, so it was hard for him to keep the production up. I think we agree, though, on Tyrese Maxey here.
Who's your sixth man of the year?
Sixth man of the year. This is a tough one. I think it's between two guys mainly. I think it's probably between Malik Monk and Naz Reid. If I had to go with one of those two guys, I think I'm going to go with Malik Monk. Naz Reid was great, and he stepped up a lot at the end of the year with Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert missing some time here and there, mainly Cat. But what Malik Monk did for them all season, it's part of what we talked about earlier when talking about the Kings trying to make it into the playoffs and stuff, where it's hard to put into words how important he was for what that team did all season with the playmaking, with the scoring, one of the most clutch players in the league, it felt like. Malik Monk was special. I think he earned himself a bag. We'll see if the Kings are even able to retain him this offseason because he's going to ask for a lot of money. And he's very deserving of it. Like, Malik Monk should get a bunch of money. I think he's going to get a ton. And yeah, he was special this season. Naz Reid is my second place finisher. Like, I think he was also great. Bogdanovich was fantastic too for the Hawks. Did he play enough games? I'm trying to remember. I believe he did. I don't think he missed that much time. I'm going to double check real quick.
How many percent of your games off the bench do you have to play to win sixth man of the year?
I don't think I think it doesn't matter. Or I think it's like over half your games have to be off the bench. Something like that. There's like some number, but
I had no idea that Kelly Oubre started 51 of 67 games. I thought it was way less than that.
Yeah, Oubre is someone that would have been in this conversation if he came off the bench all year. But with the Embiid injury and, y'all were missing guys all over the place, he kind of pushed himself out because he started too much. Because at the beginning of the season, he was the guy that we talked about, I think, in like our early season award picks. I think we had Oubre winning sixth man of the year when we made some predictions at one point. So he was fantastic. But yeah, I think Bogdanovich is another guy. Like, he may have been the straight up best guy off the bench this season, but the Hawks weren't great. Not that it matters that much team success wise for sixth man of the year. I just think with the way the Kings were a lot better than the Hawks and the importance that Monk had to their success, I'm going to go with Malik Monk here.
I think I'm going to pick Monk. I think the thing that sets him apart is the playmaking.
It was a huge improvement.
A huge jump, man. I remember, like, this is kind of random, but I remember I was gambling on assists, and I looked and saw Malik Monk's line was like 5.5. I was like, what the what? Mm-hmm. And then I went and looked. I was like, I really had no idea he was playmaking like that. And I had to kind of pay attention to it more because it seems like the Kings have always had like a plethora of playmaking guards off the bench. But I feel like they've just been dealing so many of them over the years. Like, they've just been kind of shipping them out that they really didn't have that guy. And I guess Davion Mitchell was that guy. But Malik Monk really kind of emerged as that go-to, I'm going to have the ball in my hands. I'll either get a bucket or find someone who will get one. And I think that was a huge part of the King. I know they didn't do as well as they wanted to this year, but the success they did had, I think Malik Monk was a huge part of that. And Naz Reid was awesome, man. 40% from three as a big man.
He was
I do
fantastic. So much
I
fun to
do
watch.
think that he could start on a ton of teams.
Mhm.
I think a ton of teams would kill to have him. And it's just hilarious to me that I would argue the Wolves may have 3 of the top 15 centers in the NBA on the same team.
Yeah, their big rotation is absurd. I would kill to have him over in Oklahoma City. I would love to have Naz Reid on this team.
So
Yeah,
I just think that's
shout out to
hilarious.
Naz.
A lot of positional, a lot of depth there at the position, I guess you
Yeah,
could say.
kind of a monopoly on the center
Not to
market.
mention former college basketball player of the year, Luka Garza.
Yeah, shout out to him. All right, so that's our 6 man of the year conversation. So we've agreed on everything so far outside of MVP. We'll see if that keeps up with I think the only thing we have left is clutch player of the year. Real quick, we didn't do Depoy quite yet. Okay, real quick before we do that, I want to share our standings real quick from our past episode. I wonder if I can make this. If I can be able to make this work, maybe. Like, can I? I'm gonna try doing a share screen on the video so I can show it. I don't know how this is going to show up.
That looks good.
I'm going to zoom in a little bit. On the audio end,
is this ours together, or is this do we each
this
have
was this was our collaborative one. This is the one we collaborated on. So we had Boston 1, Milwaukee 2, Cleveland 3, Philadelphia 4, New York 5, Atlanta 6, Indiana 7, Miami 8, Brooklyn 9, Chicago 10. So we picked 9 out of the 10 teams that ended up making.
We just slept on Orlando.
We slept in Orlando. They were the one that kind of overcame. And I think nobody was expecting this from
We did agree they would take a jump, though. Like, we had them as the best of the worst.
Yeah, they were the 11th seed. Brooklyn was worse than we thought. We did have the Heat perfect in the 8th spot. The Bulls should have been up at 9.
Technically, the Pacers we had perfect, too, right? Because, like, they tied for the 7th seed.
That's true. Yeah, there was that tie, but they were up there at 6, so we were a little bit off there. Cleveland was only 1 spot too high. Same thing with Milwaukee. New York was better than we were anticipating. Atlanta was way worse than we were thinking. So that was kind of a mess with them there. But, I mean, I feel like this isn't that bad.
This is pretty good, I think. The West will be interesting because I think the West was a little bit more.
Like, we got these bottom 4 teams right. So we'll take
where's
that.
The West?
Let me go ahead and fast forward to the end of the Western Conference one. It's right here. Okay. The Western Conference. Yeah, this one did not go great. So we had
I wasn't happy about Dallas at 9. I know that off the dome.
I will say we picked the 10 teams right. The 10 teams that are going to be in there, we picked them right. It was kind of easier because Memphis dealt with all the injuries before the season. So we had Phoenix at 1, Denver at 2. We got that perfect. So Denver ends up at 2. The Lakers at 3. LA at 4. We got that right too, actually. We got 2 right in the top 6. Golden State at 5. Obviously, they were way worse than that. Thunder at 6. Even I was sleeping on them. Sacramento at 7. We knew they were going to fall off a little bit. Minnesota at 8. Dallas at 9. I think you were mad about that, if I remember right. And New Orleans at 10. So Pelicans are in the play-in. We got 2 of the play-in teams right. Minnesota and Dallas jumped quite a bit. Obviously, the Thunder jumped up. Phoenix was down. This one wasn't as good, I feel like, as the Eastern Conference one, but it did feel like a bit of a more wild Western Conference. And I think the Thunder taking the 1 seed jump really threw everything into chaos, as well as with the Wolves, also becoming like one of those top teams. So it was hard.
I still think all things considered not that bad.
I don't think it's that bad either. I think it's solid. I didn't get our award predictions in this video. I don't remember if we. No, I don't think we put a graphic up. I keep passing by something. Like I can't tell if it's like a Google Doc. It's like a white flash, like right here. And the audio listeners, you have no idea what I'm doing. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Real quick, I'm fast forwarding through us.
There's no way we had anything up though for like a second.
I keep seeing it pop up and flash. Like, what is this? I can't tell if it's just. I think it's just like the mini player on YouTube being weird. So I don't have our full things right now. I can bring them up.
We'll pull them up for the playoff prediction video. We can put that at the end.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and check that out. Let's do Depoy though. Let's do Depoy. I have Rudy Gobert. I've had him basically the entire season. I think he's going to win. I'd be surprised if he didn't. Gobert's been special. They've been the best defense basically the whole year. Elite rim protector. Holds his own the perimeter better than people give him credit for. Gobert's fantastic. A big bounce back season from last year. I think Gobert wins another Depoy. I think this is his 4th now, if I remember right. So just continuing to solidify himself as one of the greatest defenders of all time.
I think Wemby was the better defender this year, but I think Gobert wins because the team's defense was better and the team wasn't trash. So
honestly, I think that's a completely fair take. And that's what I've seen a lot of people say, where there are a lot of people saying that Wemby should win because it shouldn't be a team award for the defense. And I agree that we should take mostly into account the individual. But like Minnesota was historically great defensively compared to like in terms of their lead over other teams in defensive rating. I think it's one of the highest ones since like the 09 Celtics or something like that. And the Spurs defensively were 21st in the league. Like they, when Wemby was on, they were fantastic, but when he was off, they kind of fell apart. And I know that's a big thing in Wemby's favor, but I just don't think you can give the Defensive Player of the Year award to a guy who was on a bottom 10 defense. So that's kind of the way I look at it. I think those two guys probably finish towards the top two. I think Anthony Davis as well ends up in that conversation for the top three. I think it'll probably be those three guys. Also want to show some love to some guards. Jalen Suggs, I think, deserves some love for Depoy. He's not going to get it. I think he'll end up on all defensive first team. But the biggest reason why the Magic have been good defensively the way that they are, I think it's partially Jalen Suggs. Herb Jones too, Bam Adebayo, guys like that. So, yeah, shout out those guys. All right, and then the last one is Clutch Player of the Year. I think it's pretty clearly one of two guys. It's either Steph Curry or DeMar DeRozan. I'm going to go with Steph Curry. He slightly leads DeMar in – I think Steph has the most – I'm going to double-check because the stat might have changed with the games today. I don't think the Warriors played a clutch game today. I believe it was just the Bulls that did because they went to overtime. So let me go to the stats per game. I'll go ahead and share this.
Is this also the 65 game thing?
I think you had to have played 65 games. Yeah.
Right, you want to? I'm picking Shea.
I do think Shea is up there in the conversation. I do appreciate that.
I don't know. That is off nothing but from what I've watched. I have no idea about no stats. I've seen him hit some good ass shots. That's all I'm saying.
Ryan went with the vibes. Honestly, I love it. Clutch Player of the Year feels like a kind of a vibes award. Yeah. So the most, and I got to go to totals because it just said Devontae Graham should be our Clutch Player of the Year. I'm going to go to totals real quick. So here we are. Most points. It's Steph Curry by 7. He has the lead. Shoots a little bit better than DeMar DeRozan. A little bit worse from 3. Better free throw percentage. The Warriors have about as much clutch wins. They're about even. They played 3 more games, so I guess that's an argument in the favor of DeRozan.
9 more games. Hold up. The Thunder played in 9 less. Can we make this per game?
Yeah, I can make it per game. The only problem is,
bro, because I think that gives teams that played more of a more clutch games. That kind of favors them.
I guess there's an argument too to the point there where because you've played more clutch games, so you've had more of a responsibility. How does that work?
I don't know. I see what you mean, but
this is all extra filters and stuff because I'm trying to find something so that we don't have because at the top it's going to say Adama Sanogo is the leader in clutch points per game. So I don't think I need these ones.
Just scroll down and just do a minimum.
Yeah, I'm going to do minimum of let's see. How do I do this? Because I could do games played.
Go up.
Games played greater than or equal to. Let's do 20.
20.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go. People. Yeah. So DeMar 4.6 points per game. Steph Curry's 4.4. Kyrie is a guy that I think deserves some love for this too. He's someone that because they went 16-4 in clutch games.
Oh wait. Jalen Brunson's interesting. That's kind of a vibe pick.
Brunson is interesting. Shea is down here, but he does shoot 58%. He just doesn't shoot as much because Dub, I think, is another player who deserves some love for clutch awards. Malik Monk was fantastic. I think Kyrie probably finishes top 3 or top 5 at the very least. Jokic was great. Yeah, Steph, I think, is slightly my pick. You could go with him or DeMar DeRozan. I'm not going to be mad about it. This is a weird award. I don't know ever how to gauge this one entirely.
I'm picking Shea for the vibes.
Okay, Ryan's going with Shea for vibes. I'm going with Steph Curry because of numbers. We take those. But yeah, so that's our NBA awards. That's all of them, right?
We have to do the ones that people suggested. Yes. I promise.
Yes, Ryan promised you we'll do your suggestions. So let's go ahead and do those. I have them over here on the side for Ron and I. I'm going to go ahead and real quick pull up the episode 2 and look at the comments so I give you credit for the award that you went ahead and gave us because, we want to shout y'all out. This is not the right 2-man game. This is a channel that hasn't uploaded in 3 months, and it's soccer content.
Also, if you want us to do all NBA, all defense, all rookie, let us know, and maybe we can throw that on to the playoff preview video if you guys really want to see that. I know we've talked about pretty much every player we probably have on that list for these awards.
Yeah, I could also just throw mine out real quick, and you could let me know if you have anything different because I have them all written down right here on the document because it's the same document I was working on for my video the other day. My NBA first team is Jokic, Shea, Luka, Giannis, Tatum. I think the only possible discrepancy you could have is moving Tatum down for Brunson, But
I think David Tatum because it's the 1 seed.
Yeah, and he was still great statistically too. My second team is Jalen Brunson, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, Kawhi Leonard, and Anthony Davis. I have 2 Anthonys on there. Brunson, what he did with the Knicks all season. Kevin Durant, it was incredible. Anthony Edwards leading the Wolves, their best player, ended up being the 2 seed or the 3 seed rather. Kawhi was great for the Clippers all year. Did miss some games at the end, but he played enough. And Anthony Davis, I think, slightly had a better season than LeBron, I would say. Third team, I did have LeBron, Domantas Sabonis, Zion, Steph Curry, and Devin Booker. So those are my teams.
I think Maxey should be on that team.
Okay, Ryan's pushing for the Tyrese Maxey agenda. I can appreciate that. Some other guys.
It's positionless, right?
It is positionless, yeah.
Oh, screw Sabonis. Get him off of there. Put Maxey over him. What
Sabonis? Ryan's a hater. Sabonis had the best season of his career. Ryan's a hater. Don't listen.
Well, Maxey also had the best season of his career. So what's your point?
I guess I can't argue with that one. I guess I can't argue.
No, get Sabonis off of there. Put Maxey on there. We're chilling.
Some other guys that could have gotten some love. I know some people wanted me to put Gobert on there when I made the list earlier. De'Aaron Fox could get some love.
No, he faltered too much at the end.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel pretty good about this. Again, some people put Wemby on there. Jaylen Brown got brought up. I don't think he's a bad pick to put on this list too with how good the Celtics were. But I feel pretty good that these are going to be the 15 All-NBA guys. So I'm going with that.
As long as Dame's not on there.
Oh, absolutely not. All defensive team.
I mean, he made it. He was the all-star starter. So, I mean, you never know.
There's no way they do that again. All defensive teams, I had Gobert, Bam, Herb Jones, Wemby, 80 on the first team. And then second team was Derek White, Jalen Suggs, Alex Caruso, Jay McDaniels, and Chet Holmgren. I gave Chet some love there. I've seen some people were mad I didn't put Shea on one of the teams. I don't think the Thunder get 2 guys, and I think Chet was the most impactful defender for us this season, so I give him that nod. Any disagreements, anybody else you would bring up on those teams? Or Drew Holiday, I guess you could have brought up theoretically, but I don't know. I feel pretty good about that.
John Isaac?
He didn't play enough games is the only thing. Yeah,
really?
If he had played more games, he would have been in
How many
this
games did he get?
I played 58, so he just barely missed it. Also, some people were mad about OG Anunoby not being on there. Only played 50 games in total this season, so he doesn't qualify if you're wondering why he's not on there either. But those guys both could have been that conversation. And then wrap up all rookie team. I'll just throw it out there too. Wemby, Chet, Brandon Miller, Derek Lively, and I did have Jaime Jaquez on there at the end. I think he held on to his spot. And the second team was Cason Wallace, Amon Thompson, Gigi Jackson, Asar Thompson, and Brandon Podziemski. I was back and forth between a couple of guys for those final spots.
Did Gigi play enough games?
He did actually play enough games. He played I think for some reason, I think all rookie teams you may not actually have to play. Yeah, he didn't play enough games, but I'm pretty sure all rookie team is the one where you don't have to play 65 games. I think for all rookie team, you can still get on there because he played 48.
What was his final stat line? I feel like he could be first team.
He definitely could be first team. I mean, today he put up 44 points.
That was probably
that could bolster him a little bit. He put up 14.6 points per game, 4.1 boards, 1.2 assists. Shot 43% from the field, 35% from deep. You could very well put him on first team, honestly.
I think he makes no offense. This is better stats than Jaime.
He could probably go on there. I know some people put like Podziemski on first team or Amon Thompson. He could go there too. Cam Whitmore, I think, is also in conversation as well. There were a lot of great rookies this season.
Asar Thompson fell off, bro. I thought he was a lock.
He did fall off. Yeah, he felt like a lock for first team earlier on the season, but didn't end up happening. So, yeah, those are some quick all NBA, all defensive, all rookie teams. Just go ahead and give it to you. Okay, let's do the awards that y'all gave us and go ahead and get out of here. Let me go back to the last episode. I have it pulled
These
up
are
right
off
here.
the dome. We did not prep for these. I don't even remember what they are. So
these are all off the dome. We wanted to do them just on the fly. We felt like that would be the best way to do these random awards. Why will it not show me the comments? Oh, because I still have it super zoomed in. Okay. First award comes from Abigail, and it's the Statue Award. This award goes to the player most likely to get blown by with a crossover. So basically,
I actually did prepare for this one.
Someone who wasn't great defensively this season. So if you're prepared, you can go with it.
DeAndre Jordan.
DeAndre Jordan is a good pick. It's a very random pick, but these are random awards. I like it. I think DeAndre Jordan's up there. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like any other bigs I guess you could throw in there. I'm going to go Davis Bertans.
That's a good pick. I like
the moments I saw him play on the Thunder defensively were not pretty. So I'm going to go with him. Shout out Abigail for that one. Next one is the NBA Jam Award coming from Paul. Basically, who do you think the best duo was in the NBA this season?
Best duo? Oh boy.
I think Luke and Kyrie, to be honest, have a great argument for that.
I agree, and then I think another argument would be, I think Kawhi and PG are up there. LeBron and AD both play pretty good too.
They were fantastic. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Jokic, and Jamal Murray, as always, are amazing. But I think in terms of like working off each other with a duo,
I'm good with Luke and Kyrie. I like that.
Yeah, part of me wants to go with Jokic and Jamal Murray, but I gave Jokic love already. Let's go with Luke and Kyrie.
I'm with it. I'll pick it too.
Next one is the Scapegoat Award. This is from also Paul. Shout out to Paul again. Player who received the most negative attention this season.
Can I do it? Can I break Paul's award? Actually, we can do Paul's award, but I want to give Scapegoat Award. Like I'm gonna branch out a little bit. Adrian Griffin gets my Scapegoat Award.
Oh, someone who got kind of blamed and like was the scapegoat for a season.
Yep. I know he wasn't a player, but that's my Scapegoat Award.
I mean, I think it could go to anybody. I don't disagree. I think Adrian Griffin kind of became a scapegoat. I don't think he was doing a good job coaching.
Yeah, better. I mean, they had a better record with him than Doc.
Far better. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, who's someone else I could use as like a scapegoat for the season? I need to look at the standings.
I feel like D'Lo was getting a lot of slack at the beginning of the year from the Lakers.
He was. Who else could be like a scapegoat?
I know Harden got a lot in the beginning when the Clippers were pretty bad when they first got him.
Yeah, honestly, I might go with.
I got mine. Kyle Lowry on the Heat.
Kyle Lowry did become kind of a scapegoat.
I'm going Lowry. Griffin's like my pick just because I didn't realize he was a player. When I saw that, I was like, oh, that's a big one. I'm gonna go Kyle Lowry.
I might go with. I'm considering Frank Vogel. I feel like Suns fans absolutely hate him, and I don't think their struggles are really.
What about Darvin Ham, bro?
No, Darvin Ham does suck. He's a rightful scapegoat. He's not been good. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with. I think I'm gonna go with Frank Vogel. Like, I don't think he's a great coach, but I don't think he's this. He's not the reason why the Suns struggled.
Who's your player though? Paul wanted a player.
Player scapegoat. Who's a player scapegoat? If we're talking about guys like that receive negative attention, like going with Paul's award, I mean, I think Jordan Poole is probably the easy winner here. Like he got clowned by everybody this season. So I would just probably go with him, I guess. All right. Next up, we have I think there's another award from Paul. Paul just hit us up with the award. Paul's MVP of the comment section.
P and MVP is Paul.
Most valuable Paul. Shout out to you. Paul says, how about a they deserve better award or they need to get out award to a player that's balling out for a bad team, franchise, owner? I think Wemby would be a pretty obvious pick here.
Yeah.
We're talking about a player that balled in a bad team. So Wemby's off limits. Pick someone else.
I'm trying to think of the bad teams. Gigi Jackson's kind of a good one. He was like kind of a bright spot in like a really terrible Grizzlies team. Shingun on the Rockets.
Yeah, Shingun's up there. I think end of season Jalen Green was nuts.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I'm trying to think of like the really bad teams. I mean, I feel like PG Washington finally got freed. He felt like he was on the Hornets forever.
Yeah, he did.
Same with Gap for the Wizards. I'm glad both of them got freed.
Mm-hmm. I think both Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson had great seasons when they were playing, and obviously it just all fell apart around them.
They should be fine. They'll be fine next year. They'll be a good team.
Oh, yeah. The Grizzlies are going to be insane next season. I really like what they're doing. I think ultimately this year may have been beneficial for them in the long run. So, yeah, I think either of those guys we could go with. You could go with Steph Curry, to be honest. If you want like the pure like meaning of they deserve better, I think Steph Curry does because of how just brutal it was with them not having, a much talent around him. Not a
I got another one. DeMar DeRozan.
I could see DeMar, Kobe White even too. Really just everyone that's been playing good on the Bulls deserves better. That team let them go somewhere else is pretty much the way I'm at. Trae Young, I think.
Siakam also, I think, would have been on this list too. A lot of these guys that I would have picked got traded.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Next award is the Underrated Defender Award. This one comes from Silky Smooth Sav. Someone who's like the third best defender on their team or something like that. And just someone who's kind of underappreciated defensively.
All right. Third best defender on Philly. Who is it?
Someone I immediately want to go with
I got one.
Yeah.
Nick Batum.
Batum's kind of nice.
He was getting some lockdown moments, man. I'd be watching him guard people. I'm like, I cannot believe his old bald butt can keep up with some of these people. But shout out to him, man.
Fourth quarter, why Batum, man?
Dude, Batum was a solid role player for us this year. We needed someone like him.
Yeah.
Nick Batum is my pick.
I guess I'll also go with my favorite team. There's a couple guys I could go with. I thought about I think Jalen Williams is super underrated defensively for us. He's not our third best defender, but he's been critical. I'm going to go Cason Wallace. Cason's been incredible this season for us defensively. Obviously, he's been really efficient, but I think the defense has been the real thing that has been a big swing factor for us. So I'm going to go with Cason Wallace. And honestly, if I'm going to go with a really underrated defender, Isaiah Joe kind of has some great moments on that end too.
He always has some good hands for us occasionally too.
He gets in passing lanes, which I appreciate.
He's lengthy.
The next one, guess who this is from? MVP, MV Paul. Shout out to Paul
MV
again.
Paul.
This is the best role player award. So it's like a role player of the year, someone that really thrived as a role player, might not get the love that they deserve, but has been great. And
just because I don't want to repeat like 6th man of the year, I'm going Kelly Oubre.
I was honestly going to say Kelly Oubre could get that award theoretically. I think he's been super underrated as a role player, especially if we're considering guys that, because he got a minimum contract this offseason. Like he was out of a job for a lot of the offseason. And I think he earned himself a bag this year. I like Kelly Oubre a lot as a pick there, to be honest.
I have another pick. I want to shout out Isaiah Hartenstein on the Knicks. I think that he really held down the fort while Mitchell Robinson missed most of the year. So shout out to him.
Fantastic pick. Like one of the most underrated bigs in the league. He's in for a bag this offseason. I think he should try and go start somewhere if he could.
Oh, also, I totally forgot to mention this earlier when we were doing most improved player. And now I feel kind of sad because I actually really like this pick. Dante DiVincenzo, I think, should have been. He's my third guy for that pick. Him, Maxey, and Kobe. Those are my three.
That's valid. Okay, well, that's all of them. And then there's Ridiculous Fit Award, which is like for a bad outfit.
Who's that from?
That one is from. Where is that award? I think it was earlier on in the comment section, and it comes from Ian DC 2629. I don't remember any particularly terrible fits this season. I will say Tyrese Haliburton. I'm going to go ahead and Google Tyrese Haliburton bad outfit. I think he wins this award just off overall volume of bad outfits. He was like, there were games he was out there dressing like Inspector Gadget. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to share it. Yeah, I'm going to go and share it with y'all. Share it with you. It is, where it is, Tyrese Haliburton bad outfits. Okay. So here are some of them.
God.
And this is the picture right here. You can kind of see her on the side. This is one where people are saying he looks like Inspector Gadget or like an 80s detective.
Bro, that's hilarious.
Yeah, that outfit was rough.
What is that one Egyptian pharaoh looking? What the?
I think it might have been a Halloween costume. This one's crazy. This like blue suit.
Bro, he looks like a doll.
He does kind of look like an action figure of some kind.
He does.
But yeah, so I don't remember a ton of great fits in particular. But I think Tyrese Haliburton, like the looking like this, like Sherlock Holmes type outfits.
Wait, Google worst NBA outfits this year and see what comes up, and then share it, unshare it in case something bad comes up.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about what could come up there. Let me go ahead and unshare it. Okay, 2024 worst NBA outfits.
If the results look good, pull it up because I can't really think of any off the dome either.
A lot of these are from past years.
Okay.
You
put
like
2024 in there. I still said it.
Mm-hmm. Like there's the one with. Well, there was one with Serge Ibaka with the long, like brown scarf, and that outfit was fire. I don't know what people were talking about. A lot of Russ showing up here.
Sure, the Kuzma sweaters.
Yeah, so
Spectre Gadget wins.
Yeah, we're gonna give it to Tyrese. Shout out to Tyrese, love the guy, but
and that was all of them. I don't want. I promise we would do all of them. You sure you didn't leave anyone hanging?
Yeah. None of them anymore. If I left yours out, let us know. But I don't think I did. And we'll
shout out to the 7 comments. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, shout out to y'all. But yeah, I think that's everything we've got for this episode. We appreciate y'all tuning in as always. Like I said, we're going to do our full playoff predictions coming up in the week, so definitely be on the lookout for that episode. And let us know some of yours. Let us know some of your hot takes for the NBA playoffs down below in the comments, so we can kind of discuss what y'all are thinking, some of your perspectives, like who do you have winning it all? Again, hot takes, like what's some crazy stuff you're thinking, who are some X factors. Just things that we may not think about. Kind of share your perspective down below in the comments, and we'll talk about all the ones that you bring up. As always, we want to show the love to y'all. Y'all have shown us a ton of love over the season, especially as of late. The episodes have been doing the best they ever have, which we really appreciate from y'all. But yeah, leave a like and subscribe if you're here on YouTube. If you're on the audio platform, download, rate 5 stars, all that stuff. Yeah, do you have anything you want to go ahead and wrap up with?
Comment down below. Maxey should be 3rd team All NBA if you got this far.
There you go. Ryan's always going to find a way to spread his propaganda. We appreciate y'all tuning in as always. Take care. Peace.